Wondra sits in a jail cell. He is Wondra sits in a jail cell. He is back in Idaho, accused of killing young Michael Vaughan.
You're pure evil. You have no heart. You have no soul.
Wondra is accused of murdering her then 5-year-old son in 2021. Would you think you'll ever get the answer as to why?
No, because there is no answer to why. Why would somebody hurt an innocent little boy? What answer could you give? What answer could you possibly give? How scared was he? Did he ask for me? Did he ask for Tyler?
Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping and destruction of evidence.
Michael Monkey Vaughan went missing from his Fruitland neighborhood on July 27, 2021.
This is a criminal investigation.
Now, more than 4 years later, in newly unsealed court documents, Fruitland police named 4 people they believed are involved in Michael's murder. Those 4 names are ones we've heard before.
This is Sarah Wondra. This is Sarah's husband, Stacey Wondra. This is Brandon Shurtliff, Adrien Lucienne.
As for what these 4 people have in common, they were all staying at the Wondra's home when Michael disappeared in 2021. That's just half a mile from Michael's home where he was last seen. In the PCA, police pointed to video evidence they say showing Shurtliff walking around the neighborhood. They say Shurtliff helped move Michael's body in a duffel bag temporarily to his mom's home in Kuna before standing guard as they buried him in the Wondra's Fruitland backyard. Stacey Wondra told police the 4 hoped to sell Michael for $10,000 each. He says the idea came from Adrien Lucienne. Idaho News 6 is now learning Lucienne was arrested and released in Indiana in October for a traffic-related misdemeanor. Sarah Wondra is currently serving time in the Idaho State Prison System for unrelated charges. She's eligible for parole in early 2026.
Karen, is there any connection between the Vaughan family and the home where police had been searching?
No, we've heard this more than once from the family representatives and from the police department that there is no connection between the Vaughan family and the home where this search took place.
As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughan could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening. Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondra's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughan were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondra's residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
An hour's worth of body camera footage showing Stacey Wondra FaceTiming with detectives and directing to where Monkey's body was buried in his backyard.
It's like right under that mound area.
It's right under the mound, about where at compared to the trees?
A little like right to the right of the trees area. It should be, it should be a garbage bag.
Okay, what color is the garbage bag?
It would either be white or black. We only had two colors.
Is the duct tape still going to be over his mouth?
It should be.
Okay.
I didn't watch take them off.
Okay.
So you should have everything intact as it was.
He claims he watched the burial happen.
Okay, how far down is Michael?
I don't know how far she actually dug.
And the she he's referring to, that's his wife Sarah, another suspect in the case. Stacey says Adrien, a third suspect, was also there for the burial.
Out of 300 homes, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the home where Stacey, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates Brandon Shurtliff and Adrien Lucienne lived.
As Joe mentioned, a newly released probable cause affidavit filed in June lays out the interviews following Michael's disappearance. Again, during these initial searches, police say canines tracked Michael's scent to the fence line of the home where Stacey Wondra, his wife Sarah, and their two roommates, Brandon Shurtliff and Adrien Lucienne, lived. All four of those individuals have been named people of interest in Michael's disappearance. One of Michael's neighbors told police they saw Michael riding a bike outside of the Wondra's home the day that he disappeared. Another neighbor said they saw that same tricycle at the Wondra's home during a garage sale months before Michael disappeared. The Wondras initially denied any involvement, but then in November of 2022, Stacey asked to meet with investigators. The PCA states Stacey claims he was home the night Michael was allegedly abducted and saw Sarah carrying Michael into the house. Stacey allegedly told police it was Adrien's idea to take a child to sell for money, and they would get a $10,000 cut. Stacey claims Sarah told everyone to, quote, follow her lead. Stacey told investigators they took him to Brandon's mother's home in Kuna that night, where they left Michael overnight. Stacey claims the other three returned to Brandon's mom's house the next day and brought Michael back to the Wandra's home in Fruitland. Stacey told police Michael was not alive, and Sarah and Adrien buried him in the Wandra's backyard. 2 days after Stacey's interview with police, they executed a search warrant and excavated the Wandra's backyard. The affidavit says cadaver dogs alerted to the same area where Stacey told detectives Michael's body was buried, but to this day, Michael has not been found.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome to Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. My name is Samantha, and today is November 21st. Oh my gosh, is that what it is? Yep, it's the 21st. I had to double check. 21st, 2025. It is so good to see you guys here. How did you guys like the new intro? I had to redo something considering that Stacey Wondra has been arrested, had an arraignment already. I think we definitely needed a new intro. Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for coming to support the Vaughan family, to support Michael Vaughan. I am so very blessed to have you guys all here tonight. Thank God it's Friday. All right. Who do we have in the house? One of my beautiful moderators is here. Hair Curlers and Crime. Best YouTube name out there on the streets. Ruby Slippers. Thank you for coming in. Where the wind blows. I love it. Northern Light, Aren't they beautiful? I love the lights. The real ICU. Good to have you, hun. Missing persons around the world. Good to have you. Sarah, did you change your name again? Yes, you did. That's who that is. Nicole, good to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in. Who else is here? Toaster's here, and Rhonda's here, Criminal Med is here. Thank you guys all so much for coming. Angel Wings, thank you. Butterfly Kisses, both of you, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate all the love. You guys are just like the best. Renee. No, we got, what is it? Lena Jams. Thank you so much for being here. The Sixth Sense. Let me see what else. We've got one new whisperer in the house. Thank you so much, Judith, for becoming a Pacific Northwest whisperer. Now we got to do a little dance in our chair. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate that. And we got Disco Dims. Also became a Pacific Northwest whisperer. Let's do. So kind of you both. Dynamite in the house. Evening all. I've been listening to your coverage, Sam. You're doing great. Thanks for all you're doing for the family, and much love to Brandy. Well, thank you so much for that. Brandy absolutely loves having everybody here, as do I. Wood chippers here, thank you so much. Quiet Tearsling. I don't know if I got that right, but thank you so much for being here. Olive, thank you for being here. Today has been a day. Sorry, you guys, that I had to reschedule for a little bit late. KBO in the house. Good to see you. Rhonda here. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, I had to work a little bit extra late, making little bit of extra money tonight. Ashley, thank you so much for coming in. And Opal is here. Thank you, hun, for coming. Let's read her sweet, beautiful message. Life can be tough, and sometimes you just need a gentle reminder that you are valued, you are important, and you matter. Thank you so much for your kind words. You have such a beautiful heart. We really appreciate every time you come in. All right, Ashley Higgins. Everybody's here. Yo, yo, yo. I absolutely love it. Love it. Yo, yo, yo. What's up? Sins and Secrets. Thank you for coming in again. Hey, y'all. As it gets closer to Thanksgiving, I hope you guys are getting ready to spend a bunch of family time with your loved ones. Karen, Kira, thank you so much for coming in. Why don't you guys go over there and give a little bit of a thumbs up. Pidge is in the house. Is this, let's see, Pidge Christine? What's up? Good to see you. Is that Pidge, like as in Mama Bear's Pidge? Just wondering. Is that Brandy's Pidge coming in here? It is. I see your picture now. What are you doing, beautiful? I'm glad to see you here. You protect your mental health being in here, young lady. Angel Wings, thank you for coming in. Okay, you guys. Let's just see. I think I've said hi to as many people as I can. Oh, Rogue is in the house. Yo. What's with the yos tonight? What's up? It's that Friday thing, huh? Where the Wind Blows became a member. Thank you so much for that. We got to dance in our chair now. Thank you so much. Positive vibes. KB. I know the sissies are here. I saw that earlier. Love having you guys here. I was late working working on my toilet. I was late working on my deliveries tonight. They wanted me to keep going, so it was all about it. Shelly is here. Justice for Michael Monkey Vaughan. We love you, Brandy, and your family. Absolutely, 100%. Yes, it's me, she says. This is Brandy's daughter, oldest daughter. Thank you for coming in, love. Have you decided where you're going to college yet? I heard your mom say you're leaving the state. You're leaving town. So very, very proud of you for all you have accomplished throughout all of this. Okay, you guys, where to start? Not sure where to start, but I will start. Let's see. I'm going to start right here because this is the one that blew my mind the most today. What is this, you guys? On the same day that Stacey Wondra was arraigned, Brandon Shurtliff's mom filed something with the court. Proposed order denied. I don't know what the F she thinks she's doing, but denied, denied, denied. I will be moving to Oregon eventually and getting my cosmetology license. You're going to be close to me. If you go into Portland, you'll be right over the bridge. Like, right over the bridge. I don't know where you're going to go. Let me know. Send me a message. I love that. You're always changing your hair and doing your makeup and all the colors. I'm assuming you're the one that does everybody's colors in the house too. And then I looked up what the proposed order could possibly be, because I had to. A proposed order is a legal document that a party submits to a court to ask the judge to officially rule on a motion or approve an agreement between the parties. It's a draft of the specific actions the party wants the court to take, and the judge may sign it, modify it, or reject it after reviewing it. She was denied. What is she trying to pull? Really? She's like, yep, I do haircuts and hair dyes for all my friends. Maybe you can tell me how to keep my red in. My gray hair is horrible. Everybody keeps telling me, just let it grow out. And I refuse to grow up, y'all. I don't want all my grays yet. I will. I will eventually. What do you guys think about Brandon Shurtliff's mom filing something? What do you guys think it was? On the day that Stacey Wondra was arraigned, she's going into Canyon County to file something, or at least it was denied that day. So it could have been before that, which, you know, that mama bear Tina, she's probably pretty upset hearing that charges have came out on Stacey Wondra for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. So, and then all of the information coming out that are in this affidavit, in Stacey's and in Sarah's affidavit. I mean, reading that it was her son walking the neighborhood between 6 and 6:30 at the same time Michael was walking the neighbor, or when he wandered away from the house. Seeing the details here and it being involving her house, we all know that because dogs hit over at Tina Mariel's house, Brandon's mom's house. They hit in the Wondra's backyard and they hit at Tina Mariel's house. What's she doing? I'm so curious to know what this proposed order is. And thank you so much. I don't like to name names of the people that send me things, but she knows who she is. Thank you so much for sending me this information. I did not know this, so bravo to you for sending that over. I really, really appreciate it. Yes, and it wasn't poo. No dogs hit on poo. Mountain Search and Rescue says dogs do not hit on human or dog or anybody feces. Nothing. They aren't trained to hit on feces. They hit on the smell of human remains. And that's exactly why they hit at Tina Mariel's house. Looking for Michael before Michael was abducted. Make that make sense. Right? Looking for Michael before Michael even wandered away, because that's what he told police he was out doing, looking for the missing boy. He hadn't even been reported missing. The only reason he knew Michael was missing is because he was part of the 4 people that took Michael. He's out wandering around the same time Michael is, between 6 and 6:30, and it's not, the 911 phone call doesn't even go out to 7:21. Nice to have you, Kelly. Tracy's in the house. Kelly's in the house. So many people coming in, and you guys aren't going to believe what the hell I heard this week. You guys might be even wondering to yourself, why is Sam going over the bluff? Why is she talking about this tricycle again? Well, I'm going to get right into it and tell you why I'm talking about it. Okay? I really wish I could share the recordings with you that I heard this week, but I can't, because if I did, it would give up my source. But my source had a phone conversation, actually more than one phone conversation. And I got to hear the recordings. Yep. The phone conversations were with Kay. And let me just tell you, the first time Kay, if you're out there listening, I don't know why you want to lie for your daughter. I don't know why you want to keep lying. Charges are coming on your daughter, whether you lie or not, Kay. Anyway, I am so blown away. Kay Ramsey said in the first recording that her and her husband, Ed, were walking in the neighborhood and they saw a tricycle. And they took the tricycle and they put it in storage at Sarah and Stacey's house, the house that they rent from them. And let me explain that a little bit. The garage where the Wondra was living, Sarah's parents put stuff and stored stuff in half of the garage, and the other half of the garage. Oh, got a new member. Got to dance in our seat. Thank you so much, Kelly, for becoming a PNW Whisperer. I appreciate that so much. Welcome to the family. Thank you very much for that. So, like I'm saying, yep, no Adrien arrested yet that I am aware of. I love that, Kelly. Thank you. So, at the WONDRA'S house, Kay and Ed stored things in the WONDRA'S garage. Half of it was used for their storage. Half of it was used for Stacey and Sarah's storage stuff in the garage. Well, Kay says that she was walking the neighborhood with Ed and they saw a tricycle, so she came back and she put it into the garage. That's where the tricycle came from. When Kay went on a walk with Ed, and this is, guess what, you guys? Before the spring. It was like during the spring, before Michael went missing. And then the second recording was a little bit more odd, because Kay says that her and Ed, her husband, these are Sarah's adopted parents, you guys, went for a walk in the neighborhood. They saw a tricycle down in some bushes. They didn't grab it or anything. A few days before Michael was abducted. And she said, well, I'm starting to wonder whether or not Michael, when he was out wandering around, saw the tricycle and just like grabbed it. Maybe he, grabbed it. And that's why, he was seen or whatever on this tricycle. And then she went on to say, or maybe Adrien. This was what I was like, what? Or maybe Adrien found the tricycle and brought it back to Sarah and Stacey's house. So yes, and it is very interesting, right? It is very interesting. Why did Kay change her story, number one? And in the affidavit, she says, Kay said that would be the reason her DNA would be on the tricycle. Because Kay Ramsey, Sarah's mother, was interviewed and shown a picture of the tricycle described above in this affidavit. This is on page 4, you guys. Kay claims she found the tricycle in some bushes prior to Michael's abduction. The bushes that Kay described are near where Mr. Smith found the tricycle just after Michael's abduction. So this Mr. Smith guy, we've talked about this, finds the tricycle and takes it back to his house. This is after Michael's abduction. He finds this, okay? Finds the tricycle. He's going to use it for a project. He takes it back to his house. I'm assuming that the wheel he wanted to use for his project didn't fit the project. So he walks it back and puts it in front of the BLUFF sign, which you guys are going to see here soon. I do have a picture of it, I do believe. Hold on. Here's the BLUFF sign. So this is the BLUFF sign, and the guy says that he put it there. Well, when cadaver dogs went out looking or sniffing around, hold on, you guys, I'm getting... One of the canines tracked a scent down to a tree over the edge of a bluff on 3 Rivers Way. This was on August 2nd. And there was a discarded stroller. But prior to this, the tricycle was next to the stroller. Or the tricycle was next to the stroller, yes, down in those bushes. And that's why the canine hit on it. But the tricycle had already been taken by this guy from the neighborhood and back to his house before he put it at the BLUFF. And the reason this tricycle is so important is because Dorthy Starky says on July 29th, she reports to the police that Michael was riding a big wheel tricycle at the corner of Red Wing Street and Meadowlark. And that would be the reason why the dog hit in the bushes next to the stroller where the tricycle had been, because Michael's scent was on it. And that would also be the reason why another dog finds it at the BLUFF behind this sign on the 5th. And what's even more crazy about that is the day before, when the dogs were searching near the same BLUFF sign, there was no tricycle. But we know now, after Michael's abduction, this man finds the tricycle, takes it home, the wheel or whatever reason, he decides this tricycle isn't going to work for my project, puts it here for the neighborhood kids to play with. But let's get back to Kay Ramsey. Why is Kay Ramsey telling stories about the tricycle? Because she doesn't want it to be seen at her daughter's house? Well, too late. A neighbor in the neighborhood saw the tricycle up on top of boxes in the Wondra's house. And we know Stacey Wondra mentions in the leaked footage where he's talking to Chris Madonna, he describes, Chris Madonna says, "Stacey, where's the tricycle?" "Oh, it should be on top of the boxes in the garage." And what did the person that came forward say? She said that in the springtime, Kim would later report to law enforcement that she had seen the tricycle in the Wondra's garage during a yard sale in the spring of 2021. She was able to describe the layout of the Wondra's garage and where she saw the tricycle on a stack of boxes. The exact same thing that Stacey Wondra said during his interview or his talk with Chris Madonna. So it's pretty, this Kim person that came forward, this neighbor who says she saw this tricycle up on the boxes, is pretty damn credible to me if Stacey Wondra's also telling Chris Madonna the tricycle's up on the boxes. But we're gonna focus on this BLUFF for a second too, okay? First, Kay tries so hard to protect Sarah that she doesn't even realize when she's lying. Maybe Adrien went and got the tricycle and put it in the garage, that she doesn't even realize that she's still putting heat on her daughter, because if Adrien would have got the tricycle and ended up in the garage, Michael's still seen on the tricycle, and it doesn't matter who got the damn thing and put it in the garage anyway, right? So good job, Kay. Good job, because you didn't do your daughter any justice by lying, and you're not doing her any justice by continuing to lie. Lie and lie. I can't, you guys. Exactly. It's just one lie after another. And we already know, it's even in the affidavit, but we knew before the affidavit that, Kay had to be threatened to be arrested and have her house completely searched for the GUN that Sarah left at her house. The same GUN she hid for the charges that she's in prison for currently. But she wasn't giving it up until she was threatened by law enforcement. And my thing is, it says in this affidavit that tricycle went into those bushes after Michael's abduction. The same tricycle was seen in the Wondras' garage prior to the abduction. The tricycle was described outside the neighborhood off a bluff after Michael went missing. Kay Ramsey, Sarah Wondra's mother, claimed to have found it and moved it to the entrance of the neighborhood, which is refuted by the fact that another neighbor, unrelated to the case, claimed to have found it and placed it there. So there's Kay lying again. She didn't put the tricycle there where the BLUFF sign was. And then it goes on to say, related to the case, claimed to have found it and placed it there. Kay's story also does not take into account for the fact that the tricycle was in the house before being discarded and before Michael went missing. They're saying it was there before he went missing and then ends up in the bushes down the bluff after Michael went missing. Live scent dogs hit on it here behind that BLUFF sign, and they hit on a stroller that was down in those bushes where the tricycle had been previously. The same tricycle that Dorthy, Sarah and Stacey's right next door neighbor, and RSO, and so was her husband. She says she saw Michael riding on the corner of Red Wing and Meadowlark. That is the corner. We're going to go over this map, and I have to talk about it because it's been bothering me. Toaster, I don't know if you heard it, but again, Kay said 2 stories. One story she told was that her and her husband Ed were walking and they saw the tricycle in the bushes and saw a tricycle and took it back to the Wondras' house because they keep storage stuff there too in the Wondras' garage. That was the first story. Very plain, simple. And I believe that that's the story that's true. Her and Ed were walking the neighborhood, found his tricycle, brought it back to the Wondras' house. Second story she gives. 3 days before Michael was abducted, me and Ed were taking a walk in the neighborhood and I saw the tricycle in some bushes. Maybe Michael saw the tricycle and got on it or found it and rode it or something. Or maybe Adrien found the tricycle and brought it back to Sarah and Stacey's house. She then, her second story is saying, and these are recordings that I heard that I cannot play because if I do, my source is blown and I will not give up my source. Okay. Yeah. Why take it then? They don't have kids. Exactly. From what I understand, they collect things. And they were filling Sarah and Stacey's, other half of the garage with, things of theirs, things that they collect. I guess Ed's like a big collector of all different kinds of stuff. Exactly. Sarah is a grown adult. Accountability should be taught way before now. I agree. Thank you for talking about this. The details around this have been confusing me. Well, they were confusing me too, and then I heard the recordings, and then it confused me even more, but it really made me realize that she really is going to lie to try to help her daughter get out of this. The last recording that was taken was like back in August. And that's of her saying that she saw it in the bushes. She never claimed to grab it. Said it was just a few days before. Well, yeah, she makes this statement back in August. And then, you know, they never grab it or anything. Maybe Michael got on it. Well, let's take a look. Let's see if you guys think that Michael made it down to this bush. Let's also see if you think that Kay or Ed, I mean, she's like 76 years old back in 2021, so she's hitting 80, could have climbed down this. All right. So on a map, if you guys have seen where the Wondras live, and if you see where the Vaughan family live, we know that there's 8th Avenue. It comes into the neighborhood. The Wondras lived on the north side. The Vaughans lived on the south. There's only one way in and one way out of that neighborhood, and that is 8th Street, unless you're going to drive through people's yards. That's the only way in and out. And if you go west, all the way down west is when you start getting to the Three Rivers Way, the BLUFF sign, the BLUFF, and keep going, and it takes you down. So right there where the arrow is the BLUFF sign. This road that's coming up, that's right on the right-hand side at the end of this sidewalk, is Three Rivers Way. What do we know about Three Rivers Way? We know that Brandon, video surveillance shows an adult male walking in the area of Three Rivers Way at 6:08 hours on July 27th, 2021. That's the day Michael came up missing. And the same male is captured walking in the area neighborhood splash pad by 6:18 p.m. The last image of the male is captured at 6:28 as he walked through the wooded area west back toward the area in which the Wondras lived. Brandon Shurtliff was identified in 2022 as being the person who told. So Brandon told detectives during the interview that the surveillance video captured him as he was walking and searching for a missing child on the date of Michael disappeared. This video captured Brandon walking prior to Michael being reported missing. That's the key right there. Prior to him being reported missing. So Brandon is dumb enough to say he was out looking for this missing kid when the only people that are going to know he's missing around that time is the abductors. Brandon reported as he was living with the Wondras on that date. So right here at Three Rivers Way is where Brandon Shurtliff was at 6:08 p.m. And that is the BLUFF sign that is talked about in the affidavit, where the neighborhood guy had found a tricycle in the bushes down the bluff, took it home, was going to use the front or back wheels or whatever for a project, decided he wasn't going to use it for a project, and hid or not hid, put the bike out for all the neighborhood kids right behind this BLUFF sign that's right here on 3 Rivers Way. And that's 3 Rivers Way. That is the BLUFF sign. This is another picture taking. This might actually be what this corner looked like back in 2021. I'm not sure, but it is another picture that we have found. How long did he have it? Well, he said he grabbed it on the August 2nd, and the dogs found it on August 5th, so he only had it for a few days. And I'm sure law enforcement's looked into him or whatever. I mean, why wouldn't they? Michael's scents on this tricycle, right? Hey, asked Mama in the house. Thank you for coming. So did Monkey find the tricycle by the sign and ride it over to the monster's house? Then they nabbed him? I don't think so. Michael's scent, the scent dogs where they picked up on Michael's scent was not over this far. I'm feeling like they have observed Michael before on different occasions when he wandered away, as well as other children in the neighborhood. I don't know. I don't know how long they were looking for a kid. Okay, so anyway, this is the corner of 3 Rivers Way, and that's where the BLUFF sign is, and this is earlier on. Now, these recordings and everything were done, I'd say, I don't even know, anywhere from probably been about a year now that I've had these recordings, but I didn't play them because there was really no reason to play them. We weren't talking about the Snake River or anything. And then the BLUFF gets mentioned in the affidavit. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's look at the, let's look at the recordings. Hot Mess is actually the one who went out and took these recordings. Okay. We have another new member in the house. Is it Jay Fleshma? Jay Fleshma, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a Pacific Northwest Whisperer. I really do appreciate that so much. Okay, so let's now we're just going forward, and then we're almost, there is a gravel road. You can't just go down 8th Street and then be right at the Snake River. There's a gravel road that goes all the way down. There's like farmland. There's this huge hillside, this huge thing that they're calling a bluff. And I do have law enforcement's picture that was from their website that somebody sent to me that we'll go over in a minute. But it's all farmland, and then according to Hot Mess, it's about 1/4 of a mile into the farmland before you even get to the Snake River. But you're going to see, like, it's insane. I didn't even realize that this bluff was so high up. And this is the gravel road you can take all the way down to the flat area. So right there in the background, you can kind of see the freeway. You can see the big semi truck getting ready to go over the freeway there. And that freeway goes over the Snake River, way back there in the background. You guys already see how far down that farmland is? That flat area? It's really, really far down there. Hot Mess said that it was a good 60 to 80 feet down there, if not more. Her and her caregiver helped. I mean, look, that's the edge of this bluff here. And then she brings the camera up. Now, right there, up at the top here, that is the fence of the back of the house or apartments. I don't know what it is down that road. But that housing that's behind this fence is on Three Rivers Way. So did you guys see how high up this is? It's very, very high up. Look how big of a slope it is down and into some water there. Some kind of maybe ravine of some sort to catch the water. Hot Mess is saying here, I didn't even see you here. Thank you for being here. It is so steep for a child to climb down and too far, and hence to even walk through to get to the Snake River. I mean, we even heard that it was hard for this search dog to even make it into the bushes, but it was very determined to make it through these bushes. They describe them as like sticker bushes, and he still makes it through only to find a stroller. But the reason he hid in these bushes to begin with was because the tricycle had once been hid in those bushes. And then the neighbor took the tricycle out of the bushes, took the tricycle home, didn't use it for his project, put it back at the Bluff sign on 8th and Three Rivers Way. So, yeah, that's how steep it is. It's straight down drop off. I mean, there ain't no climbing. You're just going to fall. It doesn't even look, well, it did look like there was a little bit of a trail to get down there. But this is the bluff, y'all. And that up there, going all the way down, this bluff goes all the way down. And you guys will see that here since. Or see that here shortly. Now, in the background there, you're going to see the cars going. That is the freeway going over the Snake River. Again, that's the hillside. That's the house here at 8th and Three Rivers Way. All of those houses sit up there. But that bluff goes down a long way. Now, do you guys think that £545 Stacey's going to climb down that bluff? Do you guys think that Sarah Wondra's going to go climb down that bluff? Do you think that Sarah's parents, at hitting almost 80 years old now, 76 years old at the time, is going down that bluff? That only leaves 2 people, you guys. Only 2 people could have taken that tricycle and hid it in the bushes in that bluff. And that's Adrien Lucienne or Brandon Shurtliff. I'm thinking Brandon too. I am thinking Brandon. No, Jim did not go down and was the guy's name Jim? Hold on a second. You're gonna make me look, aren't you? Who was the neighbor? Hold on a second. Yeah, it says Kay said that after all of that effort, let's see, we'll read this part. Sarah Wondra's mother was interviewed and shown a picture of the tricycle described above. Kay claimed she found the tricycle in some bushes prior to Michael's abduction. The bushes that Kay described are near where Mr. Smith found the tricycle just after Michael's abduction. Kay said that would be the reason her DNA would be on the tricycle. Kay said that after all that effort, she left it at the intersection of Three Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. Kay was 73 years old in July of 2021. And the bushes were very difficult to get to. You guys see the bluff. Did she climb down in there and grab that tricycle? And then she says, let me make sure. She found the tricycle in some bushes prior to Michael's abduction, but then moved it to the bluff sign. But Mr. Smith moved it to the bluff sign. He found the tricycle in those bushes on the 2nd and returned it to the 5th. That was the day the dogs hit at that bluff sign. So right here in front of you, this is a map law enforcement put up on their website. It says BLUFF, and it has all of the arrows of the bluff. This red square is Three Rivers Way in Arizona and the bluff, and that's the footage that we just saw. Kelly, I don't know, but I'm not tracking this. What has you confused, hun? No, it was not Michael's bike. Yes, this area has been searched. So where the red square is 8th and Three Rivers Way. The bluff is that entire green line. That is the bluff. And this map comes from law enforcement. There's no way Kay climbed down into the bluff to get the tricycle to retrieve it and put it by the bluff sign. That is a lie. It says in the affidavit, after Michael was abducted, the tricycle got put down in those bushes by the bluff. Then a neighbor saw it in the bushes, took it out of the bushes, took it home, didn't use it, put it by the bluff sign. Then Kay, Sarah's mom, says, no, I put it at the bluff sign. But she would have had to have gone down into this bluff to do so. So the only real truth is that the neighbor guy had found it and put it behind the bluff sign. Okay, continuing on from here, that's where the bluff is. Here is the bottom of the bluff. The white building up at the top was where Hot Mess was standing, taking video footage that we just saw, that was looking down onto the flat farm field. So if you were to take that gravel road all the way down, you would be where this is right here. That is the bluff, and the bluff goes north and south. You tell me, Kay, that you went down that and found the tricycle, huh? Yet you say that you and Ed found the tricycle and you took it back to the garage. But you don't want that to be true, because then it puts the tricycle at your daughter's house. But you did that anyway when you tried to throw Adrien Lucienne under the bus. Again, the cars in the back are going over a bridge that's going over the Snake River. And Hot Mess says it's about a quarter of a mile or so from the BLUFF to the Snake River. And that there's really no way to get through it all, like how dense it is and everything, to actually make it all the way down to the river. Right? And again, this is the BLUFF. And like I said, it goes north and south. This is a huge ridge. Kay is not going down that. Neither is Sarah, neither is Stacey. Somebody hit it in that ridge, in those bushes with that stroller. But it wasn't Sarah, Stacey, or Ed, or Kay. A little bit better footage going further down the BLUFF. And then in the distance, Hot Mess is now parked, I believe, on the freeway, and that ridge is in the distance. You're going to be able to see that. She zooms in. And there it is. That's the entire BLUFF back there. Look how big it is, how long it is. Right there. That is in the area of the BLUFF where the bushes were that it is found. Somewhere in that area. Somewhere in this area right there. And then there would be the gravel road to come down and around. Yeah, Brandon hit it for sure. Let me just read in chat real quick. Oh yeah, Kay is lying for sure. Yeah, take a tricycle when you don't have kids, because you collect things. But the tricycle ended up at the WONDRA'S house because Kay was walking the neighborhood. Her and Ed found the tricycle, took it home, and stored it at the WONDRA'S. That's why it is seen there in the spring when the WONDRA'S had a garage sale. Kay had gotten it before that garage sale, even though she tries to claim that she found it in some bushes prior to Michael's abduction. It's a lie. I heard her statements in these recordings, you guys, and I really hope that you guys trust me. And I would love, love, love for you guys to hear them, but I can't give up my source. Well, I think Stacey Wondra will be the first to crack if he has any more information to provide. Sarah Wondra is scared to death of the death penalty. And I think if she's officially, or when she's officially charged, she might just start talking a little bit more. But right now, Sarah thinks she's getting out of things, and that's because she's got somebody whispering in her ear telling her that, you know, other people are going to get in trouble for this, and that there are other things that are going on, and there's no way you guys will ever go down for any of this. And she believes it. I wonder if they had Brandon hide it, then saw that it ended up by the sign, and they picked it up and took it back home so cops wouldn't find it. No, it was next to the BLUFF sign because they didn't want it at their house, because they didn't want cops to find it at their house, because we already know cops went to their house August 1st, but they were already onto them prior to that. 5 days after Michael Vaughan went missing, they're interviewing the Wondras, Brandon, and Adrien Lucienne's hiding in the closet. 5 days after Michael's abduction. Somebody got rid of that tricycle between the day Michael was abducted and before they came to the house on the 1st. So within 4 days. And then a man in the neighborhood saw it sitting there and grabbed it. I'm so confused. Maybe I'm overthinking. That's what my problem was, Jemima, about this tricycle. That is what my whole problem has been about this tricycle. It's the way that they have it put in the affidavit. It's mentioned over here, over there, on this page, that page, another page. And it was so scattered everywhere that I just couldn't understand it. So let me just backtrack. Kay herself said her and Ed went for a walk, found the tricycle, took it back to the WONDRA'S, and stored it there where they usually stored things. That's where it stayed. Another witness come forward and said they saw the tricycle in the WONDRA'S garage when they had a garage sale in the spring before Michael Vaughan's abduction. Stacey Wondra even says in his confession footage, Chris Madonna asks him, Stacey, where's the trike? He says, it should be on top of some boxes, just like the woman that witnessed seeing it at the garage sale. She said it was on top of boxes. So it was being stored in their garage. Dorthy, the RSO next door, reports on the 29th, 2 days after Michael's abduction, that she saw Michael riding the tricycle on Red Wing and Meadowlark, which is right there on the corner in front of the WONDRA'S house. And she said she saw him riding it the day that Michael was abducted. So the tricycle was out their house, and then a witness saw Michael on it the day he was abducted. Moving forward, somewhere between the day that Michael was abducted and August 1st, somebody in that house hid the tricycle in the bushes next to a stroller on the bluff. It couldn't have been Sarah. It couldn't have been Stacey. It only could have been Brandon or Adrien. On the 2nd, a neighbor, Mr. Schmidt, said he saw the tricycle in the bushes next to the stroller and he took it. He took it home. He was going to do a project with one of the wheels. He ends up not using it for the project and puts it out by the BLUFF sign that's on 3 Rivers Way and 8th Street, the same Three Rivers way Brandon Shurtliff was walking on the day that Michael was abducted. A cadaver dog, or a scent dog, found the tricycle on the 5th, even though it had searched on the 4th and it wasn't there. And that's because the Mr. Smith guy had taken it home. Hope that cleared it up. Kay is lying about what she did. Kay says she retrieved it from those bushes that are here on this bluff. There's no way a 73-year-old woman climbed down. And why is she saying that? Because law enforcement showed her a picture of the tricycle. Kay claims she found the tricycle in some bushes prior to Michael's abduction. Said that would be the reason her DNA would be on the tricycle. Okay. And then what I am starting to think is that the day that Michael was abducted, maybe they used this tricycle to lure Michael. And that's why he ends up being seen on the tricycle. Because it was in the garage. Did Brandon use it? And that is that bluff, you guys, in the background. How high it is. It goes north and south. They're driving over the Snake River. It's actually not as wide as I thought it was. I thought the Snake, and that's the bluff in the background. So here is more of that map that the Fridland police had put out. You see the bluff arrows pointing towards the bluff, and then it says agricultural area with 2 ponds. This area is below the bluff and same level as I-84 and the river. And then up above at the top left, it has arrows pointing to the Snake River. So the little waters that you're seeing when we were watching the video and there was water down below are these 2 ponds that are in the area down below the bluff that law enforcement's talking about right here, circled in the blue. And then here, on the left bottom, that's the corner of Three Rivers and 8th Street subdivision sign would be at this corner where Smith left the tricycle. And they must have solid proof that Mr. Smith took this tricycle, took it home, and then put it back. Because it's in the affidavit. And then here they're even pointing at, like, this is where the tricycle was found by cadaver dogs on the 5th. Because Mr. Smith had put it back. And then the top right red square up there, that is the corner of Red Wing and Meadowlark, where Dorothy, Sarah and Stacey's neighbor, said they saw Michael on the tricycle. Down below in the small little bitty tiny little X is where the Vaughan Street is. You have the road going east and west, which is dividing the subdivisions right up above that field that's at the bottom left corner. That's 8. And again, that's the corner up at the top where Michael was seen by Dorthy, the Wondra's neighbor. And then here, the red square is showing where the splash pad is and more of where the Vaughan family lives there in that neighborhood. Okay. They sure were hunting a kid that day. Makes me sick, for real. So much more is going to come out, I think. They sure... Gotta have the narrow screen. It was the only way to be able to show the videos. I think that's exactly who put that tricycle there. They knew maybe somebody might have seen him or something on that tricycle, and they decided to get rid of it. Not only because it had his DNA on it, but because he was on it. So did the dogs not hit on the tricycle, or was the tricycle definitely not there the day before? The dogs hit in the bushes where the tricycle was next to the stroller. But when they hit there, the tricycle was not there. Mr. Smith had already taken it. Then the dogs hit where the BLUFF sign is on 3 Rivers Way. They hit there where the tricycle was found, I believe. That's the worst part about this affidavit, is how confusing. Where they put everything. You have to skip around on all the pages. Hold on, I'm looking. August 2nd, 2021, Banshee tracked sent down to a tree over the edge of a bluff at 3 Rivers Way. Canine Banshee was determined to track down the scent and the thorny bushes underneath the tree despite the thorns, and found the discarded stroller was located there. So that's when Banshee went down into the bushes. He hit there, though, because the tricycle was there. And we know that because Mr. Smith says he found it there. Then live scent canine teams searched the surrounding neighborhoods using a pair of Michael's shoes and for scent. Out of approximately 300 homes, canine handlers reported the dogs only showed interest in the house located at 1102 Red Ring Street in Fruitland. This is the home of Stacey and Sarah Wondra. The canine handler also reported that canine Banshee showed interest in the area of the corner of Meadowlark and Red Ring Street. That's where Dorothy seen Michael riding the tricycle. The canine showed interest at the intersection and then headed straight to the fence in the front door of the Wondra's house. Then, on August 5th, 2021, a tricycle was located behind the BLUFF sign at Three Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. During the search of the same area the day prior, the tricycle was not there. Jim Smith, who lives in the Three Rivers subdivision, later reported that he had found the tricycle over the bluff under a tree next to a child's stroller. Jim said he took it home to use one of the wheels for another project, but then discarded it after not removing the wheel as planned. Jim said he left it behind the BLUFF sign for neighborhood kids to use. So to answer your question, Kelly, yes. On August 5th, after Jim discarded the tricycle behind the BLUFF sign, the dogs hit there. And they didn't hit there on August 4th, the day prior. And that's because Jim had it for that project. But all of the places that the scent dogs hit in those specific, here you have the dogs hitting on Red Wing and Meadowlark. And that's where Dorothy said she saw him. And then those dogs go crazy and head straight to the Wondra's house. They've been going through this entire neighborhood, and out of 300 homes in the neighborhood, the only ones that the scent dogs hit on were the Wondra's house. And then they hit in bushes where the tricycle was at one time. But the dog, even though he was determined to get through there, only found that stroller. And then they hit at the BLUFF sign and found the tricycle that Michael had ridden prior. And they also hit when they lost scent of Michael from where he was actually taken from. So every place the scent dogs hit, they hit because Michael was there, or the tricycle that Michael rode was there, if that makes all sense. And I know it sounds super, super confusing, but and I know it because it's been confusing me. It has confused me so much, but I was bound and determined. And then I realized, I remembered that I had the videos of the BLUFF. Then I started looking at the BLUFF, and then I started reading the affidavit again. And Kay is saying that she went down that BLUFF and retrieved it. No, she didn't retrieve it. And she said she left it at the BLUFF sign where the canines had found it. No, she didn't. That was a neighbor that left it there. So Kay is straight up lying. There's no way she could even get down that BLUFF. But sometime after Michael's abduction, and before Jim Smith found that tricycle, somebody discarded it in the bushes down this BLUFF, and only Adrien or Brandon is going to make it down that BLUFF. Like I said, Stacey Wondra, weighing 545 pounds at the time. No way he's making it down there. And I don't think Sarah physically could make it down there. I believe I would even have a hard time. I mean, I'm a big girl, but I'm strong, and I still think I would have a hard time doing it. I just think it's very strange that Kay is changing her story. She said her and Ed were going for a walk And this was in the springtime or even before that. Okay, so this was months before Michael was abducted. She said she had found a tricycle when her and Ed were walking around the neighborhood, and she picked it up and put it in the Wondra's yard or garage. Well, that's how the tricycle ends up in their garage to begin with. Then another witness sees the tricycle there in the garage when they had a garage sale sitting up on top of boxes. Just like Stacey Wondra tells Chris Madonna, the tricycle's on top of the boxes because he had been incarcerated and thought the tricycle would still be on top of the boxes where he, had last saw it. Actually, that part doesn't even make sense, does it? He said it would be on top of the boxes, but he had to have known that it was not there anymore because somebody hid it. Unless Stacey just wasn't paying attention and didn't know that the tricycle. All I know is that Chris Madonna, and that's one of the reasons I was so confused, because for the longest time, nobody was talking about the tricycle. Nobody wanted to talk about the tricycle. People were even asking some creators not to talk about the tricycle. I knew when Chris Madonna asked Stacey about the tricycle that the tricycle held some kind of significance. And then you read the affidavit. I had my 3 standard poodles with me when I took these photos, and they could not get down there at all. Thank you. Yeah. Not making it down that ravine. It's super, super steep. No 73-year-old woman nor her old husband is making it down the ravine. She is lying to try to protect her daughter. But then she turns around and says, well, maybe Michael will find it in the bushes, and that's why maybe that's how he's on the tricycle. Or maybe Adrien took the tricycle back to their garage, but not even realizing in her lying statement that there puts the tricycle back in the garage, just like her statement does. Some submeration says, the neighbor Dorthy Starky saw Michael riding the tricycle near the Wondra'S home at the time Michael went missing. The same tricycle was seen in the Wondra'S garage prior to the abduction. The tricycle was discarded outside the neighborhood off a bluff after Michael went missing. So Dorthy sees him on the tricycle. A neighbor sees the same tricycle at the Wondra'S house. The tricycle's discarded outside of the neighborhood after Michael went missing. And then to move forward, Kay Ramsey saw Sarah Wondra's mother claim to have found it and moved it to the entrance of the neighborhood, which is refuted by the fact that another neighbor related to the case, which is Jim Smith, claimed to have found it and placed it there, which is true, because there's no way that Kay made it down that bluff, got it out of the bushes, and put it behind that bluff sign. It was Mr. Smith. Kay's story also does not account for the fact that the tricycle was in the house prior or before being discarded and before Michael went missing. So Kay is saying, or they are saying, the police are saying in this affidavit, Kay's story also does not account for the fact that the tricycle was in the house before being discarded and before Michael went missing. So, how Michael came to be riding on it, we don't know, but we can trust he was, as the dogs picked up his scent on it. Correct. According to this affidavit, correct. I am so sorry that this tricycle has been just as confusing for everybody. I hope I made sense of it. Is it possible that someone other than Stacey used the tricycle as a lure and he didn't realize until later it had been used? I think that if none of those suspects in the house there knew that somebody else used that tricycle to lure Michael, they would have probably turned it into law enforcement. But they lie. They lie. There are 4 suspects, and they're all living in that house on 1102 Red Wing Street, and their names are Sarah Wondra, Stacey Wondra, Brandon Shurtliff, and Adrien Lucienne. And Stacey Wondra has been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. If anybody else was involved, it was the people that Stacey Wondra says was going to buy Michael, because apparently, according to Stacey, they were going to sell Michael and get a $10,000 cut. The white car, Dorothy. I know I keep hearing people say that white car was, I wish I had the proof that it was. And if anybody has it, send it to me. Dorothy also did not come forward with that information until she was called out because she was seen on CCTV camera. We don't know that she didn't come forward, though, until then. We know she reported it on the 29th. Maybe that was because of CCTV camera, but it doesn't say in the affidavit at all that that's why Dorothy reported it. I have no clue why Dorothy reported it, but that is a very good assumption that she came forward after law enforcement was like, hey, is this you in the neighborhood? Because she was seen on CCTV camera. They even mention it in here. And she doesn't know if she was leaving, coming, or going into the neighborhood. Right, Kelly? They really did. They said that this tricycle was a nothing to. I stopped talking about the tricycle because I couldn't figure it out. I stopped talking about it, and when other people were talking about it, I'm like, what's up with this tricycle? I don't know nothing about a tricycle. All I knew about was that Michael was playing with a toy and had it in his hand when he was abducted. And then I asked other people, like, was he riding a tricycle while he was holding a toy? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then I got told, just stop talking about the tricycle. Well, we know why. They didn't want a bunch of rumors. They didn't want, which a lot of people have speculated about the tricycle and said a lot of different things about the tricycle. I went up on Crime Lines and Lies with Brooks and talked about the big wheel tricycle that Carson Starky said he saw in the WONDRA'S backyard. I heard him say that on a phone conversation. So he talked about big wheel tricycle. Although during that interview, he doesn't mention that his wife reported seeing Michael on it, which was still kind of odd. But yeah, this tricycle thing goes way back. And I think everybody got it wrong. I think everybody that talked about that tricycle had it wrong until this affidavit came out and gave us all of the information that we needed to be able to put it together. This tricycle played a huge part, obviously, in Michael's abduction. These scent dogs are hitting on everywhere this tricycle was. And even the scent dogs going to their fence and the front of the Wondра's house. Were they following Michael's scent? Were they following the tricycle scent? I've also wondered that. Yes, they're using the shoe. Their scent dogs are going after to find Michael, but you can see it now. They hit on a scent. They're on Red Wing and Meadowlark, get super excited, and then that dog is pulling their handler. No matter what, they are on that scent, they are pulling, they are going directly to where they need to go, and they end up right at the front of the Wondра's house and then hit on the fence as well. And I really like the way that the news is putting out the information about the scent dogs hitting, because it's true. No matter anybody in the background out there listening, for the people in the back, no matter how you spin it, out of 300 houses in the area, they hit on the Wondras. They didn't hit on the Wondras house because Brandy was walking the neighborhood, or because Brandy put a flyer on the Wondras front door. They hit on the Wondras house because of Michael's scent. They are trained dogs, and when they have a scent, they're going to go over that. They're looking for that scent. I'm just looking at chat to see if I seen anything, if anybody else is confused. After the interview, the Wondras on the 1st, then the dogs hit on the 5th. Yes. Yes, yes. The tricycle came up missing, or was thrown down there in the BLUFF between the time Michael disappeared on July 27th and August 2nd. And we know that because the 2nd is when Mr. Smith found the tricycle. So it had already been there. So within 5 days, that tricycle was discarded down in that BLUFF. And I believe this Mr. Smith to be a very credible witness to it all from the day. I mean, just think of it. He found it down there. Isn't that that's a great thing that he found it down there? Even though the dog hit down there and would have found it even had he not. Just the fact that he found it is great, because then we have this timeline created, because he found it on the 2nd, which gives us that timeline of the tricycle was discarded from the time Michael came up missing to August 1st or 2nd, right? And they were interviewed on August 1st. And the probable cause affidavit does say that when they went there to the house, how does it word the word search? Hold on one second. Let's look at that. August 1st, 2021, Fruitland Police contacted the residents at 1102 Red Wing in Fruitland on their initial search of the residents. So it says on their initial search of the residents, they located Adrien Lucienne hiding in a closet. Residents of the home on that date and on July 27, 2021, were identified as married couples Sarah and Stacey Wondra and their sublets Brandon Shurtliff and Adrien Lucienne. All 4 were interviewed on August 1st, 2021. So it says on their initial search of the residence. And that was on August 1st. So Dorthy Starky had already reported to police that she saw Michael on a tricycle, but something led them there to the house, and it says search of the residence. So did they search the garage, the entire house, the backyard? If they searched the garage and knew about the tricycle, the tricycle would have been there, right? Unless it would have already been discarded of. Yeah, I'm very thankful for the Mr. Smith that finds that tricycle and gives us such a great timeline. Okay, just scrolling down. Did Sarah can't come in with Michael? What happened to follow my lead? Yes, it says that Sarah came into sorry, I gotta switch through all these papers. It was Adrien's idea to sell a child for money. They would all get a $10,000 cut. Stacey was asked if Sarah provided any direction throughout any part of this. Stacey said that Sarah asked him and Brandon to follow her lead, which was to take a child. Stacey recalled that most of the conversation at that point was Sarah trying to figure out what they were going to do. Sarah asked Brandon, of all people, where we should put the body, and then Brandon was like, well, you guys can take him over to my house and we'll deal with it, and that will buy us some time. And then where does it say that Sarah brought him in the house? I know it does say something about Sarah coming into the house. See, that's what I mean with this affidavit. Nothing's in order. Everything's put in different places. I'm still looking. You'd think I know this whole damn thing yet, and I don't still. And I still see new things every time I read it, too. But I'm not seeing it right now. It's because I don't have it marked. I've been marking things as I do my live. Oh, Stacey then said that when he first saw Michael, Sarah was carrying Michael into their home. Stacey said Michael was put into, we all know what he was put into, to transport him out of their house and to Brandon's house in Cuna. So he said when he first saw Sarah, or Michael, Sarah was carrying him. And what I find very crazy about that is, like, why does it mention, like, who was in the house? Who was in the house with Stacey when he first saw Michael? And Sarah was carrying Michael. Was anybody with Sarah when Sarah was, was anybody with Sarah when Sarah came into the house carrying Michael? Or was she by herself? Was she with Brandon? Was she with Adrien? Who was in the house with Stacey? Because we know, according to this affidavit, that all four of them were in the neighborhood when Michael Vaughan was abducted. So I want to know, where are they when Stacey sees Michael for the first time. It's all crazy, crazy, crazy. The conversation that I heard my source and Kay having was crazy, 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 because Kay's just switching up her stories. Switching it up. The only reason I believe that Dorothy reported seeing Michael on that tricycle, and the one reason I believe her, like, at first, I kind of had a hard time believing the RSO that lived next door. I've always wondered if Dorthy or Starky has had anything to do with Michael Vaughan's abduction. And you go back to the very beginning when Sarah Wondra said, "The Almighty God told me Stacey did it and buried Michael in the neighbor's backyard." Because she originally said the neighbor's backyard. And then she says, "The Almighty God said Stacey did it and buried him in our yard." They went over to the Starkys' house and asked them, and they immediately let law enforcement look in their yard, dig up their yard. They have cooperated with law enforcement 100%, from what I know. I have never been told anything other than the Starkys didn't have anything to do with it. And I know a lot of people and talked to a lot of people that have looked into this case, studied this case, saw court documents, you name it. They have always cooperated. And she saw Michael on the tricycle. Had the Starkys had anything to do with Michael's abduction, would she volunteer that information? Would she report that information? I doubt it. Because then she's seen Michael and she knows she's on CCTV camera being seen coming in and out. Why would she lie about something like that? And her story corroborates with the fact that a canine scent dog hit at the location where Dorthy Starky says she saw Michael. And this was days after. She reported it on the 29th. The dog's scent was there on the 2nd and 3rd at that corner. The 2nd and 3rd. Now, the police have already been to the Wondra's house, and then on the 2nd and the 3rd, the scent dog's dragging them down the road, the handler and everybody down the road straight to the Wondra's house. I believe Dorthy Starky. I just do. Thank you, Kelly, for straightening that up. Brandy did not put out flyers in that neighborhood when Michael was first abducted, so there could not have been any mixtures of scents. Thank you, because I wasn't sure on the timeline of when she had actually put the flyer on the Wondra's door. But I knew she had done that. I knew she was putting flyers up in the neighborhood and everything. And I know there is rumors being spread that there could have been mixtures of scents because of it. So thank you very, very much. This is Brandy's sister from another mother. She has a lot of knowledge about this case. And if she says that this is not when Brandy put that flyer, I know it to be factual. Thank you, Callie, for straightening that up. Yes, apparently this tricycle was pink. Was it red at one time and then faded pink? I do not know. I have been asked. Yes, it is a pink. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I still have the photo uploaded. Yes, I do. It's not a good picture, but it's a picture. The black seat is facing us with the very front wheel, and then the two back wheels are in the back. When I first saw this picture, it took me a minute to figure out. And it is like a big, that's why they call it like a big wheel tricycle, because it kind of looks like a big wheel, but only made like a tricycle would, like the old rider ones that are made out of metal. So that's a picture of the tricycle. And like I said earlier, Brandon Shurtliff was walking around in the area off of Three Rivers Way and the splash pad. These pictures are taken, I believe, around the area of the splash pad. That is confirmed to be Brandon Shurtliff. Yeah, Stacey didn't hide that tricycle. Neither did Sarah. It was either Adrien or Brandon. And for some reason, I just think it was Brandon. Yep. Stacey said he saw Sarah carrying Michael into the house. Was there a date he gave his timeline? Defense could try to use him as an alternate suspect. Yes, he gave a timeline of when he found the tricycle and when he put the tricycle out by the bluff, and it was after Michael's disappearance. He found the tricycle after the tricycle had been discarded. That is correct. Michael was not alive when they got to Cuna from the sounds of it. They didn't even check to see if he was okay. Brandon took him in the house. He was carrying, according to Stacey Wondra, he carried in a backpack, and Michael, that was in a duffel bag, put him into the spare room at his mom's house, and then they did the tow and came back. And Adrien, Sarah, and Brandon went back the next day and got Michael, got his body, and brought it back to Fruitland. It just says that Stacey said that Sarah and Adrien buried Michael, and then Brandon was watching out for anybody, like the lookout guy. It doesn't give a date of when they say that it happened, when Michael was buried in their backyard. I've thought the same thing. And it was like over 100 degrees out. That's actually not a bad idea. To have it summarized by AI. Yeah, putting all subjects together, because all the different subjects that are inside the affidavit are in all different other places, and it can be very confusing to read. We all know we can't believe a word Stacey says. Agreed. But I have also thought about this, and I haven't really talked about this before. We mentioned it when we read it. Let me see if I can find it. I know I wrote it down. This is what I found interesting about Stacey. Hold on one second. I need to put a Halls and take a sip of tea. It's cold. It's hanging on for dear life, you guys. So Stacey Wondra is a liar. He's a habitual liar. I have a hard time believing anything that comes out of his mouth. Okay. Right here it says, following the interview with law enforcement, Stacey called his mother, Tamara Johnson, from the Washington County Jail on a video visit. Tamara asked Stacey if Michael was alive. Stacey shook his head no and said Sarah accidentally killed him. Tamara asked how. Stacey said suffocation, and went on to say they buried him in a duffel bag. After his interview and phone call with his mother, Stacey wrote an apology letter to Michael's parents and then attempted to unalive himself in his jail cell, but he was rescued by Washington County jail staff. Stacey is a liar. 100%, no doubt about it, he's a liar. He wanted to tell law enforcement what happened so that he could make a deal. I believe that wholeheartedly. If Stacey had anything to give law enforcement up, like anything else to give up, I believe he will, because he's the one who's already rolled on everybody anyway, and if he knows more, he's just going to continue rolling. There is truth into what Stacey Wondra has said. This was not a false confession. He asked, according to this affidavit, several times to talk to law enforcement. He requested it. I've heard of recording that I have shared one other time that Hot Mess had recorded a conversation having with Stacey Wondra, and he said, I called law enforcement. They came to see me because I called them. So Stacey himself called. There was no bullying him. There was none of that going on for hours, days, however he wants to say it. A false confession wasn't there. He's just backtracking, and he did that because, you know, he knows he's going down. And Stacey Wondra, after telling his mother, a person whom he loves, a mother, a good mother that has done everything she could possibly do to make sure her son was going to be a better person, putting him into the group homes, put him in the developmental facility, everything she could to do right by him, helping him out, putting him in Special Olympics, keeping him in sports in school, being a great mother that could no longer control her child, had to make decisions to put him somewhere else because he was out of control, but a mother that still loved her son, and a son who loves his mother. And after telling her what happened to Michael, he tries to unalive himself. And I believe he did that because his mom found out, and he told his mom, and because of whatever feelings he was having about Michael being unalived in the entire situation. You only get to the place that is that dark if you are in a serious depression or have been for a long time. Sometimes you do it in an immediate state of mind, but his state of mind was not good when he made that decision to try to do that, and Washington County saved him. He wasn't unaliving himself to live. They had to save him. And because of that, I feel like, in my personal opinion, that there are many truths into what Stacey says covered in some lies. So there's truth in it, like they all had involvement. They all did something to Michael. Michael ends up in Cuna. They tow a truck back. Michael was brought back to their house. Michael was buried in their yard because evidence proves Michael was buried in the yard and later moved. J.D. Huff says that himself, and moved to an unknown location. Did Stacey know that they were moving the body? Maybe. Does he know where Michael is? If he does, he'll say something, I think. And if not, it's because nobody wanted to tell him, because they didn't trust him. And they've already made that pretty clear by moving his body, because Stacey thought they were going to find Michael in that backyard. He thought for sure Michael was going to be found. So just the fact that Stacey tried to unalive himself just really makes me think, okay, this affidavit's based off of what Stacey said. But yes, there is truth to it, some of it. And when they all go to court, all the information is going to come out. He said Michael was alive on 8th in Arizona when Brandon checked. I believe he passed on the way to Cuna. That's also what I believe, Kelly. They left him there overnight and brought him back to the Fruitland home and buried him in the yard. Yes. It doesn't give a time frame of when he was buried to the yard. Stacey makes it sound like it was immediate, but had it been immediate, wouldn't the dogs have hit in the backyard, or wouldn't they have saw something when they went there to search the home on August 1st? That's what's kind of going through my mind. But a search of the house and a search of the yard is two different things. So I don't know if they searched the yard. That's what I thought too, Kelly. But later he says all Sarah was concerned about was what they were going to do with Michael's body, and that Brandon said they could take him to his mom's in Cuna. Yes. And that's what they did. They went to Cuna. And Brandon and Stacey both have talked about the duffel bag. Stacey mentions it in several of his interviews. Something led up to the unaliving of Michael Vaughan that obviously would be of evidentiary value and not in the affidavit. Something is hidden, and that led to it, or someone had snapped, or they had to. And that very well could be too. But I will say this for the people in the back spreading rumors that Sarah, trigger warning everybody, this is not true, nor has it ever been mentioned by Stacey Wondra, nor has it ever been mentioned in the affidavit that Sarah Wondra strangled Michael anywhere. I can't even believe the BS being said right now. Like, let's just get out a pen and paper and write out our own fiction book. It's ridiculous. People in the back saying Sarah strangled Michael. That's never been said anywhere. Ever. Don't do true crime if you can't do true crime. Like, just don't even do it. Yeah, we just went over the hidden true crime, and everything Stacey has said on all of his interviews and this affidavit are all different. The contradictions from one YouTube creator to another are all contradicted. And so, of course, everything he said on YouTube isn't going to go with what this affidavit said. This affidavit is based off of what Stacey Wondra told law enforcement, not what he told YouTube creators, what he told law enforcement. And what's even more important is to realize that what's in this affidavit is just a basic summary of everything. Evidence is not going to be in the affidavit. The evidence is going to be in the discovery when that is put out. Oh, absolutely. Adrien has in some way, shape, or form helped. And if not, at least knows information, knows what happened, saw something, was there, something. Because we know he's at the house the night that Michael was abducted, so he had to have seen something. Yeah, all of them can be charged because none of them checked to see if he was breathing. Well, all of them could be charged because he died because of them. To me, it doesn't make sense that they would just put him in a bag and toss him in a room. Sorry about that description. Rogue. I totally get it. Like, that's why when Brandon's friend and girlfriend both told at different times, Brandon told them that he got into a tiff with Sarah and Stacey and went back to Kuna that night. I do not believe that he was there by himself. I believe that Brandon went back to Kuna that night, or at least I believe what I was told Brandon has said. I should put it that way. Because Brandon was telling people he didn't stay the night that night. And I asked Brandon, when he was up on my live, I asked him, did you stay the night at the house that night? And it was one of the questions he didn't. Well, that's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. He did not even want to answer it. And if he didn't want to answer it, I mean, he could have just said, no, I didn't go back to Kuna that night. I stayed the night with Sarah and Stacey, because he was living there. So why did he avoid it? I believe it's because he went back to Kuna that night. And that, of course, would be going against what Stacey's saying when he's saying that they all three went back the next day. They're going to figure out all the in and outs, all the lies and everything else. You mentioned the tricycle couldn't have been placed where dogs located it by Sarah and Stacey. Could you elaborate on how that is, or where they were at the time. Sorry if I missed it. Honestly, it's Sarah and Stacey's weight. The tricycle was put into bushes down a bluff. I don't know if you were here earlier, but I showed a video of the bluff, and there's just no way Stacey Wondra, weighing 545 pounds at the time, could have made it down this ravine, or Sarah make it down the ravine to hide a tricycle. There's just absolutely no way. I'm just going to let this video run a little bit for those of y'all coming in a little bit late. This is a video of the bluff where the tricycle was discarded after Michael was abducted. So that's the farmland down underneath of the bluff, and that is a flat area. And that there is the site of the bluff. That is the neighborhood up there on Three Rivers Way. And that is the steep ravine. It goes all the way down. All the way down. This is very steep. Hot Mess took the videos. She says anywhere from 60 feet or more down. And it's like that the entire hillside. And this apparently is where the tricycle was hid in bushes after Michael's abduction. And in the background is the freeway going over the river, the Snake River. And that is the ravine. That up there is the corner of Three Rivers Way and 8th Street. This really shows how steep the ravine is, but you can see how this here is from a map from law enforcement, the bluff, the whole greenway going north and south is the bluff. All the arrows, law enforcement use those arrows. Now there are 2 red arrows pointing in that direction. Maybe those 2 red arrows are the bushes where the tricycle was taken. Yeah, I don't know why those 2 arrows would be red. I didn't see that before. Okay, well that makes sense. So it would actually, the red arrows are pointing right in front of us actually. Right there in those bushes would be the exact spot if those red arrows on this map are pointing to where the tricycle was found. But there's no wording or anything there. But that would be right here. Right where the camera is pointed right now would be where those red arrows are. And that is the bluff. They listed all the CCTV camera they mentioned. Stacey leaving the neighborhood, but it doesn't mention when Stacey came back to the neighborhood, and I think that that's going to be part of evidence, is why it's not in there. So that could be more part of CCTV footage. They mentioned seeing Dorothy on CCTV footage. They mentioned seeing Sarah, Adrien, and Brandon in the blue Toyota with the CCTV footage, and they also mention seeing the GMC truck leave the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m. to go to Cuna with Stacey, Sarah, and Brandon in it, and just leaving the neighborhood, not seeing them on 8th in Arizona, see them leaving the neighborhood, because that's where CCTV cams are, is near the freeway in 8th Street, not in the neighborhood. So they can only see the vehicles coming and going in and out of the neighborhood. Like I said, 8th Street is the only way in and only way out. But that there is the BLUFF. And I believe that's all the vehicles that they really talk about, besides that one SUV that they talk about in the very beginning, wanting to know who the driver of it was. Yes, that's what I was just talking about. Yes, that Brandon had left later that night, and it wasn't just Misty. His girlfriend at the time, not at the time of Michael's abduction, but when I had her up on the show, is when her and Brandon were together, and his friend Dan Guthrie also said that Brandon told him that he had left that night. Yeah, we're not going to find out everything until tomorrow. Totally agree. Oh, I'm sure that they have more footage, because it does mention in this affidavit that they requested security footage from people in the neighborhood. So I'm sure that they have collected a lot of that information. Thank you, Jemima. I study things, and when I study things, it just dates and things just, I don't know, because it's not like that in my life. In my real life, dates and everything are very, very hard for me. But when I'm working on cases, I remember times, I remember dates. It just sticks in my head like glue. It really does. It doesn't say when Stacey says when Michael. That's the thing. It doesn't say in the affidavit. It just says the next day they came back. I mean, I guess you can say the 28th, but the search they did could have only been on the house. We don't know if they did the yard. We don't know what they found there. That's all part of evidence that's not going to be in the affidavit. I know, it's horrific. It is. It's absolutely horrific. Matter of fact, hold on. Did they say they brought him back to the house on the 28th? When did the dogs actually go into the home? I do not know when the dogs went into the home. I know the dogs hit at the house. Let's see. So August 2nd through the 3rd is when the scent dogs were out. And out of 300 homes, canine handlers reported the dogs only showed interest in one house located at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. They showed interest at the corner of Meadowlark and Red Wing where Michael was seen on the tricycle, and then showed interest in the intersection and then headed straight down to the fence in the front door of the Wondра's residence. It does not say that scent dogs or cadaver dogs went to the Wondра's house during this like August 1st, August 5th time period. We know cadaver dogs hid in the backyard in November of 2022. And what it says about the 28th. Give me 1 second, I'll find it. God, this paperwork, the way it's together. Okay. Stacey said they drove straight to Brandon's mother's house in Kuna, Idaho, where Brandon grabbed both bags, the duffel bag containing Michael and a backpack, and went into the house by himself. Stacey said that once they arrived in Kuna, Michael was not making any more noises, and none of them had checked on Michael to verify he was still alive. Stacey said that Brandon told him he left Michael in a bag and put him in the spare room inside his mother's house. They then towed Brandon's car back to Fruitland. Stacey said that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrien went back to Kuna the next day to get Michael. The three of them brought Michael's body back to their house in Fruitland. He stated that he was inside. Brandon was on guard, and Sarah and Adrien dug the hole together. Stacey reported he did not previously report this information because he thought he would get into trouble and because he was fearful of Sarah hurting him. So it says that they went and got him, brought him back, and buried him in the backyard. Now, was that written up in a way that left out certain details, like him being buried that day, another day? I don't know. It's not specific on any of the dates. It just says the day after Brandon, Sarah, and Adrien went to get Michael. All right, you guys, I'm going to be going over more of the affidavit because I do want to talk about some more. But I hope you guys are able to put together the hold on, I was reading. Hold on. Yeah, my brain is fried. Hold on, I'm trying to. Why isn't my arrow moving? Come on. Dogs went to the front door of the Wondras the first week Michael was abducted. Yes. They went there on the second or the third. That's when they did their search, and that's when they hit at the Wondras' house. If they brought Michael back to the house the next day, wouldn't Michael have been there? So the difference between these dogs and the other dogs are these were scent dogs that hit on the house and the fence. Now the fence, we all know that Stacey and Sarah both said that Michael was buried between the shed and the tree along that fence line, the right outside their back door. The dog hit on the fence and the dog hit on the house, but it's a scent dog that hit there. It's not a cadaver dog. If that makes sense. Like, it's not trained to smell death. It's only trained to smell Michael. So it hit on the fence, which he was buried along that fence line somewhere, and he hit on the house. But cadaver dogs didn't hit until November of 2022. So I hope that answered your question. I hope everybody, yes, exactly. Thank you, Kelly. That's what I was trying to make my point too. It's like scent dogs, not cadaver dogs. But I hope you guys understand the tricycle better now, the BLUFF, Kay's involvement in this tricycle thing, how the tricycle got to the Wondra's house, why it ended up by the BLUFF sign. That was my main goal here, was to just explain this tricycle a little bit better and to let everybody know that I heard recordings by Kay telling two different stories about this tricycle, and it's a completely different story that's even what's inside the affidavit. So you guys so much for coming in. Let's put up Michael's beautiful face for a minute. Michael was abducted July 27th of 2021 in his Fruitland neighborhood, Fruitland, Idaho neighborhood. Michael was only 5 years old at the time. And there are 4 named suspects in Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder, and that is Stacey Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrien Lucienne, and Brandon Shurtliff. Stacey Wondra is in jail now for first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of evidence. Sarah Wondra has an affidavit, but has still not been officially charged, but we know it's coming because of the affidavit. It's just like Stacey Wondra's, but she's currently spending time in prison on unrelated charges. Adrien Lucienne was somewhere in Indiana in October, failed to appear in court on October 20th, and a bench warrant for a misdemeanor was served on him. Brandon Shurtliff is in jail, and he doesn't get out until December 3rd or 4th. And now we know that his mom has tried to, what was it that I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but Brandon Shurtliff's mom trying to file on the 17th a proposed order, and it was denied. When I looked up proposed order, a proposed order is a legal document that a party submits to a court to ask the judge to officially rule on a motion or approve an agreement between the parties. It's a draft of the specific actions the party wants the court to take, and the judge may sign it, modify it, or reject it after reviewing it. And we know here, according to these court docs, that it was denied, but we do not know what it entailed. What kind of proposed order was she trying to put up? I want to remove it now. That is weird. I want to remove this. It won't let me put Michael's. Let me see if I do this. And just another main thing is that there's no way Sarah or Stacey made it down that ravine. Okay, back to Michael's. If you have any information regarding the abduction of Michael Vaughan, please call law enforcement at 208-642-6006 or email findmichael@fruitland.org. You can remain anonymous. No tip is too big, too small. Please let law enforcement decide whether or not your tip is credible. Please, if you have any information, maybe you heard something from one of these suspects, or maybe somebody that knew these suspects said something to you that they had heard. Yes, it's all hearsay, but you can still tell law enforcement if you heard something. There is a reward over $50,000 for any information leading to Michael Vaughan. And any tip you give could lead law enforcement to where Michael was buried, and his family needs peace. His family needs to know where Monkey is. They are willing to do anything. They're willing to give any of these suspects a deal to just know where their son is, know where their brother is, their nephew, their grandson is, so they can bring him home and put him to rest. And Michael deserves to be home with his family. So please, any information that you might have, call the tip line, phone number 208-642-6006, or email findmichael@fruitland.org. Brandy Vaughan and the Vaughan family appreciates everybody coming in so much. Please, if you want to do something, share Michael's beautiful face, share a live, any live, except for a couple of lives on a certain panel, but share Monkey. It helps bring awareness. Give me a thumbs up because it helps get this live out in the algorithm for more people to see, and so more people hear the facts instead of rumors. Just share his beautiful face. Take a flyer, take anything, look it up on the internet. post that Stacey Wondra's been arrested and what he's been charged with in the Michael Vaughan case. Just keep the awareness going. Thank you guys all so much for coming. Thank you, my beautiful moderators, for always being here and keeping chat clean. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Hot Mess, for the videos of the BLUFF. I really do appreciate that. And I did ask Misty if she knew what Brandon's mom. Let me just look real quick. Maybe she got back to me. I don't think. Yep, I have not heard back from Misty yet. I did ask her if she knew why. And let me see something. Hold on, I'm reading. No, she hasn't sent anything back to me. But I did ask Misty if she knew what Brandon's mom filed, because I'm really curious. Anyway, you guys, I really appreciate you coming in. I'm sorry I had to change the time at a later time. I noticed a couple of the moderators that are on the East Coast or further away probably got a little bit late. But thank you all for coming in. Thanks again, Hot Mess, for the videos. I really appreciate those. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. I won't be live this weekend. I have to work, and I also have to do some shopping for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to try to do a couple of lives before Thanksgiving next week, but if something happens and that doesn't work out, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you are enjoying a lot of wonderful time with your family. Keep your family close to you. Hugs and kisses to everybody. I love you guys so, so much. So, so much. I appreciate you guys coming in. Good night, everybody.